Good morning, pulsers. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm Ndapwa and I'll be taking you through a nice restorative sequence today. Um, as usual, with restorative poses, we're trying to sort of find our edge just between discomfort and pain. You don't want to ever feel any pain. So in poses, it might feel a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit challenging, but as long as you're not feeling any pain, you should be good to go. As always, just listen to your body. If the body is not really feeling it today, feel free to skip any poses or make them less intense as suits your needs. I have got some lovely props today. So some things we might want to have just so that we can be nice and comfy and build up a nice support so that we can really find release in our postures. So you can use couch cushions or even pillows from your bed. I've got a nice bolster here, so if you have something like this, or even maybe a couch seat cushion, if you can take it out, might be a nice thing to use as a little resting surface. And then maybe also a little blanket for Shavasana at the end if you're feeling a little bit chilly. So feel free to pause for a second if you'd like to grab some props. I'm not going to be playing any music on my side today, so if you'd like to play some music and set something up, please feel free to do that as well. So you can take a little pause and get ready and nice and set up. And when you're ready, maybe just coming to a nice comfortable seat. So you can take a nice easy pose, so just a loose cross-legged pose. If you're feeling a little bit more open in the hips and if the knees don't object, maybe you could take half lotus. And anything that's comfortable, anything that you can sit in comfortably for a couple of minutes. So today's sequence, it'll be a little bit more active. So it's not going to be like a vinyasa where we're trying to build heat, but we will be holding slightly more active poses to get a slightly deeper stretch. So just settling into your mat, just arriving here, getting ready for the next hour of dedicated time to just restoring the body. Letting the hands rest gently on the knees, sitting up nice and tall. Remembering you can always sit up on a folded up blanket or a cushion if the lower back feels a bit tight. It can make it a little bit easier to sit up nice and tall, especially if we're sitting up for a longer period of time. So just finding yourself nice and comfy wherever you are, maybe letting the eyes fall closed if that feels good. And just starting to focus in on the breath. Just starting to build that awareness for the rest of our practice, and remembering that if the mind starts to wander, as it is designed to do, just coming back to the breath, focusing on the inhale and the exhale. Is a good way to bring focus back to your practice. Maybe bringing one hand to the belly, one hand to the chest, so that as you inhale, you feel the belly pushing out against the hand, maybe feeling the chest rise. And as you exhale, feeling everything contract, maybe slightly engaging the core just to help push out that air from the lungs. Taking 5 more breaths at your own pace. So just setting up your breath for today's practice. With every exhale, just putting to one side anything that may have happened before you got on your mat. anything that's coming up after you step off. And just using this moment to sort of press pause, just so you can dedicate your attention to today's practice. Bringing hands back to the knees, keeping eyes closed just for a moment. Maybe taking a moment to set an intention for today's practice. Any short positive statement, maybe something in particular resonates with you today. It can be something as simple as, I listen. And however that might resonate, it might mean listening to the body, it might mean listening to what the spirit needs today, listening to any messages you may be receiving. Sometimes the universe is sending a very intense signal. Sometimes all it takes is just tuning into that frequency and just maybe finding a moment of clarity. And there's a lot of frequencies going on right now. It's a bit of a difficult time. While we record this, we're all in lockdown. And it can make it a little bit difficult to listen when there's so much noise. So maybe just taking this opportunity to try and filter through some of the noise. Or if that sounds like gibberish, just listening to the breath even. Slowly blinking our eyes open. We're nice and centered, nice and ready for our practice. So coming onto all fours for our first posture. And we'll come into a nice extended child's pose. So bringing our big toes together to touch, taking your knees nice and wide, maybe as wide as your mat, and starting to sink the hips back towards the heels. So you're trying to sit back on your heels, arms nice and stretched in front of you. This is a really nice place to maybe have a pillow or a blanket, and have something to rest your chest on. So really just bringing it in between the legs so that your torso has something to rest on. Keeping the hips nice and heavy, just gently walking the fingertips forward, walking the arms forward, letting the palms rest on the mat, and then letting your forehead rest on your support, or if you're feeling nice and open today, you can come down to rest directly on the mat. So I'm just going to rest my forehead on this bolster. Settling into our first posture today. So feeling out the body, seeing how the ankles feel as they come into the stretch. Remembering you can also fold up a little blanket and either place it underneath the ankles or between the bum and the heels just to give a bit of support. There's a lot of ways to just use stuff that you might already have just by rolling it up or folding it up to give a bit more support. Feeling the hips nice and heavy. So keeping them sinking back towards the heels. Maybe rocking the head from side to side. Giving a little massage from the forehead. As you inhale, feeling the belly fill up. As the lungs fill up like balloons, the belly presses against the sides of the legs maybe. As you exhale, maybe finding a little bit more space space to release. And from here, shifting any props out of the way gently so we can start to walk our hands over to the left. So left hand coming off the mat, right hand shuffling over maybe to the edge of the mat. Starting to feel that stretch all the way down from the right pinky, down through the forearm, going through the shoulder joint, feeling the side body, getting a nice deep stretch here. Trying to keep the hips nice and heavy, so if the right hip is starting to roll over so you can reach really far, maybe just walking hands slightly back, closer towards you. Taking 5 deep breaths here. So with every inhale, really feeling the spaces between the rib cage, giving a nice stretch. Muscles that don't often get a stretch for a prolonged period. Taking one more breath here. And walking hands back through center. And now taking the right hand off the mat and bringing the left hand to join in, maybe coming to the right edge of your mat. Reminding the hips to stay nice and heavy. And then sinking into the stretch now, the side stretch going to the right. Feeling those muscles between the ribs. Really seeing if you can be aware of the stretch all the way up into the left pinky finger, through the shoulders, making any adjustments if the shoulders are feeling a bit tired today. Taking one more breath. And coming back through center. Slowly walking hands towards you. Just coming up onto the knees. Making some gentle circles with the feet. Just rotating the ankles. Getting a little bit of blood flow back to the feet after staying in that position for a while. And taking this opportunity for a little bit of a toe stretch, one of our favorites. So maybe lifting the hips up just enough so that you can really tuck the toes and lowering the knees back down. Slowly from here, just walking the hands towards the knees, maybe coming all the way up to rest hands on the thighs. Also remembering that you can adjust this as you would like to be, as you would like the intensity. Trying to get all of your toes onto the mat. Don't worry if they don't all actually touch. My little toe is always a little stubborn one. So just playing with whatever distance feels good. We're just going to take 10 breaths here. So trying to find your edge. Ooh, quite intense. Trying to find your edge and just holding it for that 10 breaths. So settling in, seeing if you can find a sense of stillness here. Can be quite challenging. Just checking in if you're not feeling pain in the toe joints or in the ankle or in the knees. Just making any adjustments you need to, listening to the body. Do our last 5 breaths here, so letting the eyes stay closed. Taking 2 more breaths. And coming back into hands, untucking the toes, gently pointing and flexing here. Just going to make a little adjustment for my camera. There we go. Beautiful. So now we've got the ankles and the toes, have some nice stretch here. We're going to get some nice upper body and front body activation. So you can grab your pillows or your bolster if you've got one, or couch cushions. And we're just going to take a nice heart-melting pose. So we're starting with hips right above the knees. You can actually bring the toes together and take the knees a little bit wider if that makes this position a little bit more stable for you. From here, you're going to walk the hands forward. And it's not necessarily a matter of trying to stretch through the arms. You're trying to think of, let me just tuck this so you can see it a little bit better. Our goal here is thinking of dropping the rib cage. So keeping the hips over the knees if you can, and thinking of dropping the rib cage down to your bolster, your cushion. We're going to add a little bit more height here. Maybe the upper back, the body's feeling a little bit tight, especially if you're doing this in the morning. So dropping the rib cage, trying to keep your gaze forward if you can. If this doesn't work for the neck or the shoulders, you can let your head rest. Let your forehead rest on whatever support you're using, or rest on the mat. So here we are in a nice heart-melting pose. Literally by dropping the rib cage, you're trying to melt your heart center down to the mat. Remembering you can come onto your forearms if this feels a little bit strenuous for the arms and the shoulders. So you don't have to keep it as active as this. This can be a little bit strenuous. But whenever you find yourself in a nice, comfortable position, starting to come back to the breath again, so you're listening to the sound of your own breath. As you inhale, maybe feeling the skin of the belly and the front body stretching. And as you exhale, maybe you have a little bit of space to drop a little bit deeper. Taking 10 more breaths here. So adjusting at any time, I'm going to come down onto my forearms. If as you hold the posture, you find you have a little bit more space as you hold it for slightly longer, feel free to adjust your props as needed. Taking 5 more breaths here. This is a really good opening for the shoulders, getting some mobility in the shoulders. Also getting some work for the spine, especially the middle of the back and the upper back. If you're taking your gaze forward, you're getting a little bit of stretch for the front of the neck as well. So a lot of different things happening here. Taking 1 more breath. And slowly coming back, so don't really lift up the body, just coming back enough to come into a nice child's pose. This time bringing knees closer together so you have a little surface for the upper body to rest on. Letting the head rest on the mat or on a nice cushion or raised surface, bringing the hands back towards the feet, palms facing up, and just taking a moment here to let the spine readjust. For those of us who do yoga with our glasses on, the child's pose is a difficult one because you have to sort of maneuver or remove your glasses completely to really let your head drop down between the knees. So I'm going to do that very quickly. We'll take 5 more breaths here. So really feeling the belly and the chest pressing into the legs as you inhale. And as you exhale, letting the upper body be nice and heavy. Taking 1 more breath. Slowly bringing hands back to the mat and slowly starting to roll up. Seeing if you can stack the spine 1 vertebrae at a time, letting the head stay heavy. So gently stacking up, the head is the last thing to come up. And the shoulders drop down. Taking a moment here, closing the eyes, just seeing how the upper body feels. Maybe letting the head fall from one side to another. Moving nice and slow here through the neck and keeping this movement really small. So not trying to touch the ear towards the shoulder, just putting a gentle leaning from side to side. Beautiful. And coming onto all 4s again, grabbing your glasses if you need them. And we'll find a little bit of cat-cow here. So continuing our work with the spine, continuing our work, just getting a little bit of mobility through the shoulders. So knees hip-width apart. You can always check by putting 2 fists together and just sliding in between the knees to give you an indication of what that looks like. So knees hip distance apart. Hands underneath the shoulders, just checking in that your hands aren't too close to the knees. Makes it really difficult to drop the belly here, or that you're not going too far forward. So hands directly underneath the shoulders. Again, we try and give a little bit more shape so that you can see what exactly I mean when I say things like drop the belly. Great. Completely unraveled immediately. It's fine. We are flexible and we are ready. So from here, we're moving into cow. So inhaling as you drop the belly, so the hips start to, you're popping the pelvis back, dropping the chest between the hands, gaze starts to go forward, and as you exhale, tucking the tailbone, rounding through the spine, really pushing through the hands, letting the head drop down between your arms, arching the back like a cat. Inhaling, dropping the belly. So finding that curve in the spine, maybe bending elbows slightly, if that helps you bring the chest between the hands, between the arms. Exhaling, rounding the spine, so tucking the tailbone. Using this movement to help you push the breath out of the lungs. Inhaling, dropping the belly, feeling the skin of the front body stretching, feeling the muscles The core stretch. Exhaling now, finding that stretch through the back body, so the muscles between the shoulder blades, letting the head be heavy. So you feel that stretch down the back of the neck. Taking 3 more rounds at your own pace, so putting your eyes full closed if that helps you focus on the movement. Taking 1 more round, dropping the belly. And coming back to a neutral spine. From here, we'll take our work a little bit lower into the body, so starting to get some nice work for the hips and the front of the legs, get the glutes as well, areas of the body that do a lot of work, and there's a lot of connective tissue here, so there's a lot to work with. So we'll step our right foot to the front of the mat first. Just finding ourselves in a nice lunge position, making sure the knee isn't going past the ankle. You want the knee directly over the ankle, even a little bit behind the ankle. Once we start doing this, we're going into injury territory. So just being really careful and protective of the knee here. Coming out of the lunge slightly, just so that you can come up and place your hands on your thighs. Finding a little bit of engagement in the glutes here. So you don't want the bum popping out to the back. You want to really tuck the tailbone, finding a little bit of engagement here. And trying to keep that engagement as you sink hips forward once again. So feeling that stretch, really feeling that stretch to the front of the left leg. Using your hands for a bit of support. You can also always come down onto your fingertips for a little bit more support, especially if the back feels a little bit icky or a little bit uncomfortable, trying to hold this engagement and sink down forward. We'll take 3 more breaths here. And then bringing our left hand down to the mat. I'm just going to bring the right hand to the inside of the right knee and use it to start to guide the knee outwards. So rolling onto the flat edge of your right foot here, so the soles of your feet are exposed. Using your right hand to gently guide the knee out to the right, making this as small or as big as is comfortable. So if just a little bit of rotation is where you feel like you'd like to stop, so let me turn this way so that you can see. If you just want to be here, that's perfectly fine. If you find like you have a little bit more openness and you want to come around, maybe even start to take your gaze over to the right, you can feel free to find whatever your comfort level is here. And just getting a nice external rotation through the right foot, maybe the right hip, massaging that joint, helps with joint health, helps to stimulate the production of fluid in the joint that keeps it nice and smooth, keeps things working. Coming back to be flat on the foot. And then from here, maybe walking the left knee back a little bit if you need to. We're going to come into half splits. So pushing hips back, coming onto the heel of our right foot now. So pulling the toes towards the face. So you don't want the foot to just be nice and relaxed here. You want to just have a gentle activation of the toes pulling towards the face. And that really gives you that nice deepening through the stretch of the back of the legs, so the hamstrings, the calves, all very hard-working areas of the body. Maybe tucking the back toes if that helps give a little bit more support. Taking 5 breaths here. Trying to keep the upper back nice and straight so you don't want to collapse down. Still trying to find some length in the spine. It's a nice reminder for me as well. Sometimes I forget. Taking one more breath here. And coming back onto our right foot. So untucking the back toes if they were tucked. I'm going to just walk the right foot a little bit further right, a little bit further off the mat, and we'll come into lizard pose. So, another good place for a little bit of support, depending on how open your hips are. So what we're aiming to do is, first of all, both of your hands are on the inside, so your right hand's on the inside of the right foot now. Finding yourself in your lunge, allowing the body to start to sink past your bent right leg, if that feels available. So you can stay here. This is nice and challenging. If you have the space, starting to come down onto your left forearm. Woo, challenging. Only once you're able to come down to your left forearm comfortably, try to come down onto your right as well. So the full posture, which I'm going to demonstrate on this block because I'm feeling very tight today. Full posture looks something like this. So you can modify either being up on both hands, just on your outside arm, or down on both forearms here. So we'll hold here for 10 breaths. So this is one of the more active restorative postures. It's really working through the front of the left leg, really working the outside edge of your right hip as well, working through the glutes, massaging the hip joints. So really engaging the whole lower body in a way. So holding here for 5 more breaths, maybe letting the eyes feel closed. If it feels comfortable, letting the head hang heavy. If the left knee starts to feel a little bit, if you're on a really hard surface, you can always double up, you can triple up your mat underneath your knee, just to get a little bit more padding. I've got 2 mats here because I'm lucky and spoiled for choice, and also I'm working on tile, so it's nice to have a little bit of support. Taking one more breath here. And slowly, just going to move hips back just so that we can walk our right foot over to the opposite side of the mat. We're getting ready for pigeon pose. So walking your right foot to the left edge of the mat, letting your right knee fall down to the mat, bringing in your right foot as close to the groin as you need to be able to feel nice and supported in this pose. So you want to have enough stability in the base that if you were to come up onto your fingertips, you can sort of still balance here. You don't want to be shifting from side to side too much. So we'll start nice and high with hands flat on the mat. So if it feels good, taking a moment just to bring the gaze forward, maybe up, coming into a gentle back bend, only if the lower back feels okay here. If not, just starting to come down onto the forearms. In fact, we can all come down into forearms. See how that feels. We're now really working into the outside of the right leg. So really feeling that stretch through the outside of the right thigh, going into the glutes. Feeling that compression of the right hip joint. And if this feels comfortable, maybe coming all the way down to rest the head on top of your stacked fists, or on the mat, or on top of your palms. So whatever feels good here. Remembering that because there's so much connective tissue in this area of the body, this can feel like a really intense stretch. So just being aware of where your edge is today, listening to the body, checking in if you're not feeling any pain. But if you feel up to it, maybe just working to meet your edge. As we go through a little bit more of an active restorative session today, maybe going to about 60% of what you could handle, Remembering again, you can always do what you feel. You can always just go into child's pose if you'd like to. Taking 5 more breaths here. As you inhale, feeling the belly maybe pressing onto the inside of the right leg. As you exhale, maybe finding a bit of space to release the upper body a little bit more. And slowly coming back up onto the forearms. Placing the hands on the mat so you can come back up. Tucking the back toes, just walking. Right knee back in line with the left. We'll take a moment here to just go into a very gentle downward dog. So really spreading the fingertips. And from here, keeping knees nice and bent, peeling the bum up to the sky. And just pedaling through downward facing dog. So we're not going to try and hold stillness here. We're just finding a little bit of gentle movement. Just activating the muscles here. Coming back down to the knees. And just taking a moment to see if you feel any difference between the left leg and the right leg. Maybe the right leg is feeling a little surge of energy. So sorry, I just want to make sure that I can still see myself. Great. And now taking our little leg sequence over to the other side. So stepping our left foot to the front of the mat now. Gently coming up and out of the pose slightly just so you can rest hands on the left thigh and coming to sink down. So first finding that engagement. Tucking the tailbone, so not popping the bum out like this, but finding that engagement and gently tucking, so engaging through the core slightly, and then slowly sinking hips forward and down, keeping that engagement if you can. If doing that makes it a little bit difficult for the lower back, feel free to come down onto your fingertips, or even just one set of fingertips. Or one fingertip if you're feeling particularly strong in that one finger. So taking 5 more breaths here. Feeling the stretch down now the front of your right hip crease. In the front of the right leg here. Beautiful. Now coming down with both hands onto the mat, maybe walking your left foot a little bit further off to the left, just to be nice and comfortable. Right hand is planted on the mat, nice and secure, helping you hold up your body weight. The left hand comes to the inside of the left knee, and you slowly start to open up to the left. So rolling onto the edge of your left foot here. So seeing how big or small of a movement you'd like to take, you can come just a little bit onto the left knee, depending on how tight your hips are feeling. Depends on a whole lot of things, including like the shape of your hip bones and the socket and a whole lot of things. But if you're feeling nice and open, maybe starting to take your gaze over to the left side, so over your left shoulder. Taking 2 more breaths here. And slowly using the left hand to guide our left knee back into place, and we're back in our low lunge. From here, maybe tucking the right toes just for a little bit of stability, starting to sink the hips back and coming onto your left heel. So we're in half splits now on the left side, remembering to pull the toes towards the face so that you can really engage the whole back of your left leg, Remembering again, you can also double up your mat underneath your bent knee, just for a bit of support, especially if you're on a hard surface. Keeping a little bit of length in the back and the spine, so not rounding down too much here. We're not trying to get the knee and the head to touch. It's almost thinking that you're reaching your head forward to the top of your mat. So we'll hold here for another 5 breaths. Remember, you can keep a slight micro bend in the knee, so making sure you're not locking out the knee can put some pressure on those joints. So keeping a little micro bend just to protect the joints. Taking one more breath here. And slowly coming forward again and tucking your back toes. And then from here, getting ready for our lizard pose. So walking the left foot a little bit further off to the left side of the mat, bringing your left hand to the inside of the left foot, right hand comes down to the mat as well. So starting to feel your upper body sinking down past your bent leg. So taking whatever variation of lizard feels good on this side, maybe staying up on both hands, maybe trying to come down onto the right forearm, and if you can, only then beginning to work the left forearm down. I'm going to stay up because the hips are tight today and I'm listening to the body. If it feels good, letting the head drop down, getting an added little stretch for the back of the neck, going between the shoulder blades. We'll hold here for 10 breaths. Holding for 5 more breaths, so making any adjustments. You can come slightly out of the pose, you can maybe move deeper into the pose if you feel like you have more space. Taking one more breath here. And slowly coming up onto both hands, walking the foot now over to the right side of the mat, letting your knee drop down. Again, bringing the foot in as close to the groin as you need to be nice and stable in this position. So if you're on your fingertips, you feel like you can gently sort of hold up maybe part of your weight, maybe half of your weight here. Staying up nice and tall if the lower back allows it. Taking a moment for gentle back bend, so just gently looking up. If the lower back feels anything that feels weird, skipping this part entirely and rather just coming down onto the forearms and prepare for full pigeon. So taking one more breath here if we're here. And slowly coming down onto our forearms, checking out how the body feels here. And if it feels good, starting to come down onto maybe your stacked fists, or maybe folded palms, maybe the head goes all the way to the mat. We'll hold here for another 10 breaths. So again, maybe just being aware, maybe this side feels a little bit different from the right side. Just being aware of how much tissue is here, and so really giving the body time to relax into this posture. So as you inhale, feeling the belly press against the legs. And listening to your exhale as you maybe find a little bit of space for the torso and the upper body to be a little bit heavier. Finding a little bit more release through the left hip. And slowly coming up onto the forearms, coming up onto the hands, lifting up the hips just enough so you can slide the left knee back. Taking a moment to really plant through the hands, spreading the fingertips wide, tucking the toes, and just peeling the hips up to the sky for a downward facing dog. Just pedaling out through the left and the right. Just seeing how the back of the legs feel, maybe feeling a little bit more open. Coming down onto our knees. And just sitting back for a nice child's pose, so legs together again. Letting the head rest on a pillow or a cushion or on the mat. And just holding here for 5 breaths. Slowly coming up again, letting the head be heavy, stacking the spine as you come up. Feeling good. So our last little bit of focus is just going to be on the front of the chest. So really working on opening up through the collarbone, through the shoulders. Again, lots of connective tissue, lots of things working here. And often if we find ourselves sitting a lot or driving, we're often in this position. We're typing, we're here, we're looking at our phones. And so this part of the body can get quite tight if the body gets used to sort of curling in on itself. So taking some time to really find a nice opening through the chest should be really nice and yummy. So we're going to come to a nice shoulder stretch. So coming to lie flat on your mat. And we'll start with the left side because I think you'll be able to see it slightly better. So stretching out your left arm off the mat. Playing around with the angle here. So as we move into shoulder stretch, if you bring the hand slightly lower down, it may make this stretch a little bit less intense. So just seeing how the body feels. But from here, placing your right hand underneath your right shoulder, coming to lie on the left side of the head, so the left ear is on the mat, bending the right leg, and we're just using the right hand and this bent right leg to help us start to roll over onto the left side of the body. So letting the head be heavy if that feels okay. So using the right hand to help you stay in this position. We'll hold here for about 10 breaths, checking in with how, especially the elbow of your extended arm feels. If it feels a little bit tight, you can always shuffle the hand down slightly, and that will help make the stretch a little bit less intense. but finding this really strong opening through the front of the shoulder, through the front of the body. If you're feeling like you'd like a little bit more opening, you can bring the right hand to rest in the lower back here, just to open up the right side as well slightly. We'll take 3 more breaths here. And then bringing the right hand back to the mat and slowly rolling onto your front once again. Bending both elbows, so bringing the hands one on top of the other. And just resting one cheek on top of your little palm tower. Just taking a moment to let the body readjust. This is also a twist for the spine, so it's also important to let the spine get a little bit of time to readjust. In fact, we're just going to sway the bum from side to side here. Really slow, really small movement. Just to see how the back's doing. If this feels good, just keep going another couple of times on each side. And now coming to our shoulder stretch on the other side. So extending our right arm out to the side now. Bending the left foot. Placing left hand underneath your left shoulder. So this is going to be your pivoting arm. Coming to rest on the right ear if that feels good. So you want to make sure the shoulder is still in contact with the ground as you begin to push through the left hand and let the left foot come over and behind you. So if the left foot touching the ground makes the stretch far too intense, you can always just stack the legs and just have your hand as your little pivot here. So making sure you're not feeling any pain and that it's not too intense. If it feels good and you're not feeling any pain through the right arm and the right shoulder, maybe bringing the left hand around to rest in the lower back. We'll take another 5 breaths here. So letting the eyes full closed if that feels comfortable. Taking one more breath here. And then bringing the left hand back onto the mat and using the left leg to just guide yourself onto your front again. Stacking the hands once again. Maybe resting the opposite cheek on top this time. And finding that gentle swaying from side to side of the bum if that feels good for the lower back. And then from here, placing hands underneath the shoulders, just coming up onto all fours. And just moving through the cycle, we'll just come into our extended child's pose again. So big toes together, sinking the hips back, walking the hands forward so that you can begin to settle between the two legs. Maybe resting the head on the pillow or on a bolster again. And just scanning the body here very briefly while we enjoy this full circle moment, coming back to the posture that started it all. We've worked through the ankles, the legs, the hips, spine, the shoulders and the arms, the neck. So we've worked a large part of the body today, coming into some deep stretch to get some restoration and to find some greater mobility in the body. Just scanning the body and seeing if anything feels any different, maybe feeling some energy running through the body. Taking one more breath here. And slowly walking hands towards you. And we'll come now to our Shavasana or corpse pose. So coming to lie flat on your back. So taking up as much space as you'd like. This is a nice place to maybe grab a little blankie. Maybe just place it over the legs or any part of you that might feel a little bit cold or chilly. So letting the feet be nice and wide, letting the toes fall out to the sides. If the lower back feels like it wants a little bit more support, you can always come into a constructive rest pose. So taking the feet as wide as the mat, letting the knees fall together so the lower back is nice and supported. So just checking in with where the body would like to end class today. One more opportunity to listen to the body. Letting hands fall out to your sides, palms facing up. So taking up as much space as you need to. Letting your breath come back to its natural rhythm. Feeling the ground supporting the bodies of all the parts of the body that are nice and supported by the earth underneath you. Just being aware of those points of contact. And if the mind starts to wander, just listening to the sound of your own breath as you inhale and exhale in Shavasana. Slowly coming back into your space, gently wiggling fingers and toes, maybe touching each fingertip with the thumb, bringing some slow movement to the body. If it feels good, reaching arms above you for a nice full body stretch, pointing the toes. And then coming to roll onto your left side, so bringing the knees slightly into the chest here. Just resting on your left arm for a little bit of support. Taking a moment before taking big movements with the body. Keeping eyes closed if you can. Pressing up into a comfortable seat, so taking your time. Letting the hands rest on the knees. As you take a couple of deep breaths in and exhale through an open mouth, so inhaling nice and deep. And sighing it out. Inhaling, sighing it out. Taking one more deep breath, the deepest breath you've taken so far. Bringing palms together in front of the chest, resting the thumbs just on the breastbone, right on the heart center, and taking a moment of gratitude for yourself for making your way onto your mat today. You're taking a little bit of time out of your busy schedule to take care of the body, to listen to what the body needs, and respond with care. Remembering that sometimes all you need to do is listen to your breath and take that moment for restoration that you find. Thank you for joining me in today's practice. Namaste. Alright, thanks everyone. I hope you're feeling good after a slightly more active but still very nice and slow, stretchy class. Please remember to drink lots of water. And if you've got any questions or comments or feedback, feel free to leave it in the pulse group on WhatsApp. I'm always checking it out. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day.